Your business has a vision, but is anyone making it happen? You set the strategy, but who is making it a reality? Do you ever wonder how successful companies turn big ideas into daily actions? It all comes down to one thing: mid-level managers. Mid-level managers are the glue to every business organization. Mid-level managers connect the vision and the strategy set forth by senior level leaders to the frontline staff. Your frontline staff are the people who are going to execute the strategy that the senior level leaders set on a day-to-day basis for your business. This is episode number 2 in a series that we're doing on the anatomy of building a team from the frontline, mid-level, senior level, executive level, and the board of advisors. This is episode number 2. So before we get into anything, make sure you've watched video number 1. If you haven't watched video number 1, let me give you some fundamental knowledge. Every business has what I call a company pyramid structure. The biggest part is going to be your frontline staff. I've covered that in the previous video. At the bottom, you have a bunch of frontline staff that handle the day-to-day execution of your business. If we go up one more level, which is this video right now, we have mid-level staff. And these are people who supervise and manage the frontline staff. So again, you have your frontline staff. Then above them, you have your mid-level leaders we're talking about today. Then above them, we have your senior level leaders. Then above them, we have your executives. So here we go. Here's the pyramid. Top line, here's the executives. Then we go down to the senior level leaders. Then we go out to the mid-level managers, which is where we are right now. And then we go to the frontline staff. Most of your company is built with the frontline staff, and you want to layer these particular leadership levels above them. So why should you listen to me? I've been an entrepreneur for over 15 years. One of my portfolio companies is actually in the HR space. And I've personally hired and onboarded hundreds of mid-level leaders over the last 15 years. I'm going to compress 15 years plus of all of my knowledge into this video so you don't have to go and experience the same costly mistakes that I had when I was first getting into graduating up the company structure pyramid or bringing on mid-level leaders. I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've lost contracts and clients. I've had all the bad experiences with mid-level leaders. So learn from my mistakes in this video. Is your business strategy falling short? It might be time to look at your mid-level manager. Do you think the success of your business is all about the leadership? Think again. Your mid-level leaders are equally essential. Mid-level managers make or break your company's success. Mid-level managers are the connectors between senior leadership and your frontline staff. We call them the glue. In this video, I'm going to share over 15 years of experience on how to build a strong layer of middle management inside of your organization. So before we get into this, let's define what is a mid-level leader. Mid-level managers are those who manage specific teams or departments and ensure that the company's high-level goals are achieved through daily tasks and operations. These managers are responsible for aligning their team's effort with the company's mission. This creates a cohesive flow from top to bottom. So let's get some more clarity on the actual role of a mid-level manager. When you're working with mid-level managers, you need to give them clear roles and responsibility that align with the company's overall goals. Hey, I need you to manage this team with this objective, and when you guys accomplish this at a high level, the company receives this. Hey, you're the new art director. I need you to manage this team of graphic designers. And when you do your job effectively, we're going to be having everything turned in on time with high client satisfaction. You're going to work with the copywriting team and the copy editor and the creative director and the marketing manager to make sure that all of the art that we create helps us convert more sales. That's the level of clarity that you need to communicate to every one of your mid-level leaders. This is what I need you to do. This is why it's important, and this is what happens whenever you complete what we need you to do. There's one crucial aspect that's often overlooked when it comes to mid-level leaders, and most people, most founders don't understand this, which is mind-boggling to me, but I also had to learn this lesson, so hopefully you can learn from me. So I never thought of my mid-level managers as a communication channel because they're a human processing for the message that gets sent from the executive the board of advisor, and the senior management level. These mid-level leaders, they receive a lot of orders or a lot of direction and a lot of strategy, and they have to communicate that to the frontline staff. That makes them a communication channel inside of your organization. This is again why we call mid-level managers the glue of your organization. Your mid-level managers are daily decision makers. Mid-level managers make crucial decisions about your company every single day. This impacts your company's profitability, your company's productivity, and your team morale. When you're hiring a mid-level leader, there's a few essential skills for a successful mid-level manager. Here are some specific skills that I look for when I'm hiring mid-level managers. Number one, communication. Your mid-level management must be able to communicate strategies and goals, making sure everybody on their team is aligned with your objectives, your tasks, and your mission. They also have to be able to communicate what are the KPIs, what are the metrics that they, as a leader, as a mid-level manager, and the organization is going to be looking at for that team or that department's success. Number two, time management and prioritization. Your mid-level managers have to be able to prioritize which tasks are urgent and which tasks need to be done right now. As a mid-level leader, every one of your mid-level leaders has to be able to look at your entire workload for the week, the day, the month, whatever time, and they've got to be able to decide, okay, all of these things need to get done, but which of these things need to get done first? What's my priority? What's my first priority? What's my second priority? What's my third priority? They should be able to organize themselves, because otherwise they're going to come to you and say, hey, Frank, what do I do now? Hey, Frank, what's urgent? Hey, Frank, hey, Frank, hey, Frank. And that would really mess up my workflow at the leadership level. To say another way, I would have to leave my role at the executive level, and I'd have to come down to the management level, and I'd have to basically do this person's job. Okay, I need you to do this, 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 and this in that order. That's fine for the first couple of months, especially if you don't have any senior level leaders inside of your organization. However, if every day your mid-level leaders are doing this, they're not the person, or you haven't given them enough clarity on the tasks that your business needs, which we'll cover a little bit later. Number three, problem solving. Business is a game of solving problems. Every single day, without fail, your business is going to have problems. Your mid-level leaders need to be able to catch about 80% of the problems that come up to them. Your frontline staff handles 80% of the problems that come to them. Those 20% go over and go to the mid-level leaders. And so of those 20%, your mid-level leaders should be able to handle 80% of those. So then they escalate that to the senior level leaders. Eventually, and ideally, you at the founder, the executive level, you never deal with those problems because you have layers built in. Now, if your company's newer and you don't have mid-level management, you don't have senior management, then you as an executive, you're going to have to come down and deal with those entry-level problems, which isn't the most effective use of your time as a founder. And number four, people management. A mid-level leader has to have strong technical skills and strong soft skills. A mid-level leader must have the social intelligence, the emotional awareness to be able to look at people and say, okay, I know I can't be really hard on Priscilla, because if I'm really hard on Priscilla, then she's going to get emotional, she's going to shut down, and she's going to break, and then we're going to have the other team suffer because they're going to have to pick up her slack. But I know this guy, George is a stud, and all I got to do is tell George one time, hey, George, you're not hitting your numbers, and I need you to do this. And George is a go-getter. He's going to hit his target. I never have a problem with George. I just got to communicate what I need to George. And there's everybody in between. So your mid-level managers, they have to be great with people. They absolutely must be able to communicate and lead with different leadership styles individually to everybody on the front line. They're looking for an adaptive leadership personality, somebody who can modify their approach based on the people and the strengths of their team. Okay, so what do mid-level leaders actually do? Really, mid-level leaders only do one thing. They take high-level strategies from the senior leaders and the executive team and the board of advisors, and they break them down into executable, actionable steps that are easy to understand from the frontline staff. And most of your people on your frontline staff, typically they're not super sophisticated. So you're looking for somebody who could take a complex mission or strategy and break it down to frontline entry-level people and make it easy for them to be successful. Hey, here's what we need to do. Here's step 1, 2, 3, 4. You're looking for somebody that can do that. That's what a mid-level leader does. Without having a mid-level leader that could effectively communicate these strategies and objectives to their frontline staff, the frontline staff might lack direction and focus. This leads to inefficiencies and poor results. So here's 3 ways that your mid-level leaders can accomplish this. Number 1, goal setting. Your mid-level managers will take your broad company objectives and set specific team and individual goals so that they can achieve them. They're going to say, okay, this is what leadership wants. This is what we need you to do. And this is how we're going to measure success. Goal setting. Number 2, task delegation. A strong mid-level leader is going to know their team, their strengths and their weaknesses at the technical level, and they're going to leverage the strengths and minimize the weaknesses. So if I know that Priscilla's really good at numbers, but she's not so good at sales, but I know George, he's really good at sales, but he's not good at numbers, then I want to make sure I give Priscilla all of the numbers-based work, and I want to make sure I give George all of the sales-based work, because I'm leveraging their strengths and minimizing their weaknesses. A strong mid-level manager is going to be able to effectively delegate and distribute tasks based on strengths and minimizing weaknesses. Number 3, accountability. Your mid-level managers, they're going to track progress, track metrics, track numbers. We have an HR company. For every one of our recruiting teams, we've got teams all over the world. We do offshore staffing. We have leaders who come in there and they say, okay, my team had X amount of applications started, X amount of applications complete. And we know by looking at the numbers, who's not doing their follow-ups, who's not doing the text messages, the phone calls, the emails. We know exactly who's not doing that because we measure. We have the ability to give objective feedback that way. So if your mid-level managers are going to constantly create an atmosphere of transparency and accountability, it makes it really hard, but not impossible, for your frontline staff to slack off. Because if you have a good mid-level manager, it would be nearly impossible for somebody long-term to come in and just go through the motions, because they're going to track their numbers. The mid-level manager is going to attract the frontline staff members' numbers and say, hey, we got a problem here. Hey, you should be here and you're here. What's going on? What do I need to do to get you here? What's the problem here? Hey, knees to chest. Let's go. We're running a business here. Let's go. You need somebody like that inside of your organization at the mid-level leader. So let's talk about empowering your mid-level leaders for maximum output from your frontline staff. You as a founder must empower your mid-level leaders. If you don't, it's going to slow down the growth of your business because they're going to constantly be coming to you. When I had this problem, I would constantly have my mid-level leaders who were responsible for teams come up to me and say, hey, Frank, I'm having this problem. What should I do? And then I would come down from my executive level and I'd meet them at their management level, at the mid-level. And I would say, okay, hey, do this. But after a while, I realized that that was ineffective because I was shaking hands, kissing babies, making sure that I'm closing deals and establishing partnership, raising capitals, having meetings with bankers, things like that. I don't need to be coming down and managing, hey, why is Susie showing up late to work? I don't need to manage that. That's what we pay you guys for. Handle that. And so you have to be able to empower your people, and here's how you do that. Number 1, training and development. Your business should offer opportunities for growth in areas like leadership, project management, people management, process management, and communication. To be insanely clear, you need to take it upon yourself as a founder to create trainings or work with training companies to get your team members to be able to be more effective in those 5 key areas: leadership, project management, communication, and I forgot the other 2, sorry. Number 2, autonomy. You must give your team members at the mid-level management position freedom to manage their teams however they see fit based on the goals of the organization. It's just like Messi or Ronaldo. You say, hey, Messi, you're the captain of the team. We play soccer. Here's out of bounds. Here's out of bounds. There's a soccer ball, and here's the net. We need you to take this soccer ball and put it in that net. By the way, you cannot touch the ball with your hands. You can only use your feet or your head. Messi and Ronaldo say, cool, team, let's get together. This is what we're doing. Let's rock and roll. I need the ball. Let's make these passes, make these plays. Let's make sure we practice hard. They handle all of that, but you need to give them parameters. Even the greatest soccer players in the world, they have parameters, and you got to give your mid-level leaders parameters. Hey, this is your team. You're the owner here. You have full authority to make all decisions as long as it's within these bounds. And here's some rules that you got to follow. After that, you can tweak, you can modify the rules, but empower them that way because that gives them an internal company doctrine or a decision-making formula so that they can make the best decisions, the most effective decisions for your organization. Number 3, clear communication from leadership. Your senior and executive level leaders must provide regular updates to your mid-level leaders. Remember, the mid-level leaders in your organization, they're the glue of your organization. So you have to provide them with regular communication and updates based on a number of factors like your company's goals, your metrics, any new deals you guys might have done, any new policies, any new industry changes. You have to communicate and update with your mid-level leaders regularly. Weekly is fine. Twice a week is ideal. When you do this, you help set up expectations and you also create an environment of accountability for your mid-level leaders. A lot of times, especially if you don't have senior level leaders and you just have a couple or maybe even one mid-level leaders, you're like, oh, they're fine. They got it. And no worries. I don't got to worry about that. You actually do. You need to keep them accountable just like they're supposed to be keeping your frontline staff accountable. And number 4, feedback loop. You have to implement processes for your mid-level managers to regularly provide feedback loops to your frontline staff. And you need to have feedback loops programmed into your system, into your business meeting cadence, into the meeting schedule of your company so that your mid-level managers are having feedback sessions from your senior level managers. Everybody checks everybody. With these feedback loops, you're ensuring that everybody feels heard, which is an awesome thing for team morale. It also makes them feel valued. It also helps you identify bottlenecks, friction points, problems, and get ahead of challenges, and also receive insight from your frontline staff and your mid-level managers. One of the challenges that I had is that it took maybe a quarter for me to, 3 months, 120 days, 190 days. It took me a long time for me to identify how ineffective some of the processes that we had in our businesses because we never had these regular feedback loops for our mid-level managers. Once we implemented that, we no longer delve in that. Now let's talk about measuring success for your mid-level managers. As a founder, you have to set specific KPIs for each of your mid-level managers. This will assess their effectiveness and ensure that they're aligned with your company's goals. Here's some example of KPIs. Number 1, team performance metric. These are KPIs that are generally related to the team's productivity or their quality of work or project completion. Number 2, employee satisfaction and retention. Your managers should be evaluated on your ability to retain talent and to have a high morale. So one of the things that I was suffering with is I had this really hard-nosed midline leader, and our company needed that at the time. But as the entire company raised our standard, this guy was still being hard-nosed, which is why I initially hired him, and that was his leadership style. But he didn't adapt, and what ended up happening is that he was really hard on his people, and his people had a lot of turnover. So I looked at his stats, and I was like, man, this guy is having twice, if not 3 times more of the turnover as the other team members, as the other mid-level leaders. What's going on here? And so I asked on the exit interviews with the people that left, hey, why are you leaving? And they're like, oh, because we don't like this guy. This guy's way too hard. He's doing this, and it was just ineffective. Number 3, alignment with strategic goals. One of the most overlooked things that founders do is they don't look at the achievement of the team underneath this mid-level manager and how that correlates or aligns with the overall goals and missions and objectives of the organization. So your team, you could have a team that accomplished a lot of things. Yeah, we did this. But did that actually matter when it comes to what the company actually needed at the time? Was it, for example, we had a team that was breaking all kinds of records and numbers, and they were making all kinds of SOPs and, project management protocols. And that was great. It was actually really, really helpful. But we didn't need help there at the time. That was like number 7 on our list. They should have focused on number 1, 2, and 3. And even though they were accomplishing a lot, and they're like, look what we did. While that is great, great. And while that's going to be helpful 15 months from now, right now, we need help on 1, 2, and 3. So that ultimately boils down to the ability of that mid-level manager to be able to prioritize and communicate what do we actually need to do right now. And that mid-level manager probably should have worked with a senior level manager and the executive leadership team to identify what is a priority here. And that probably wasn't communicated as effectively as it could have been from the executive and senior level to the mid-level. I want to share with you the 4 biggest pitfalls when working with mid-level manager. Number 1, and this is the biggest one, is I see a lot of people, typically in the startup, small business, and even in the medium-sized enterprise range, they just promote somebody who's been there long enough. Hey, Jerry's been here for 3 years. Let's just make Jerry a manager. Let's promote him to the mid-level. Hey, Jeremy, you want more money? You want more responsibility? Jerry's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And they come in there, they have no frameworks, they have no social skills. Their technical skills are off the chain, they're amazing, but they're not a leader. And so you're either going to have to train this person, which takes up more time and energy, and you probably should have done that when they were frontline staff to make sure that they could prove that they could be elevated into the top line or to the next level. But now you have somebody who doesn't know how to lead people, leading a bunch of other people, and you basically have the blind leading the blind. And that's not an effective way to build your company. And I see that happen a lot, especially if you have a startup or a small business. Hey, Jerry's been here 3 years. You got a Jerry in your business. 80% of you guys have a Jerry in your business. I had multiple Jerrys in my business for a long time until I figured this out. You don't promote anybody for just being there just because. They need to clearly show all the things we talked about in this video. You're looking for somebody who could be the glue, an effective communicator, strong soft skills, strong technical skills, the ability to prioritize, the ability to communicate complex strategies to the frontline staff, accountability, transparency, adaptability, communicating to people in different styles and leading them in different ways. You're looking for that type of personality. And ideally, you would have promoted that type of initiative at the front line, and the people who were saying, hey, I received the training, here's proof that I can do this, promote me, hire me, make me a mid-level manager. That's the formula you want to go to versus, oh, Jerry's been here 3 years. I know you got a Jerry in your business. Don't put that person in that position because it's going to harm your company and it's going to harm that person ultimately. Number 2, not inspecting your mid-level leaders. I mentioned this earlier. Oh yeah, Jerry's been here a long time. He knows what he's doing. No, you as a founder, you need to inspect what you expect. If you have an expectation of something, that means you have a standard. And if you have a standard of that, then you need to inspect that. Because a lot of times, if you come in and you have this standard and you inspect, sometimes it might be here. And that's okay, as long as you can coach your people to bring it up here. But you'll never be able to do that without inspecting your people. Inspect what you expect. If you have this expectation, that means you have a standard of doing things a certain way. And anything below this is below standard. Anything below this, below your standard, is unacceptable. And this becomes a crucial part of you as a founder at the leadership level to beat that drum, to wave that flag and say, I need things here, guys. Anything below this is unacceptable. Inspect what you expect. I like to pop up on my team's meetings and I'm just a fly on the wall. Hey, don't mind me, just here. And then I give feedback based on what I see, or sometimes it's going great. It's not all a negative thing. Like inspecting what you expect doesn't mean be negative. It just means, oh, hey, great job. In fact, if someone's doing a great job, praise them. Say, hey man, you do a phenomenal job with that team. Keep it up. That's amazing. I just want to make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Awesome. Oh my God, I didn't know you guys were working on that. That's amazing. Praise them. If they weren't praised, give them praise. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't always have to be negative about it. You can always be positive about it. Ideally, you want to be positive about it. But at the end of the day, if you need it here and it's here, it's below standard. And you got to be responsible for that. Number 3, having no career path for your mid-level managers. We're going to knock on their door and say, hey, we got a senior level leader here or an opportunity here at the senior level. You've been here 3 years. Would you like to get a promotion? Would you like more money, more responsibility, and career advancement? 99% of the time, we always steal talent. And now who loses? You. You're like, oh my God, Kimberly's leaving. Kimberly's leaving to another company. What are we going to do? Oh my God. Well, you should have put a career path for Kimberly. You should have said, hey, Kimberly, you're coming in at a mid-level manager role. We're expecting you to be here for 15, 18, months, 2 years, 3 years. Then after that, then we have this senior management position. But in order for you to get here, from here, we need this skill, this skill, this skill, this skill, and this achievement. And then we'll consider you making you a senior manager. You need to have a clear career path for your team members inside of your organization. And number 4, not having a pipeline of frontline staff ready to be promoted to mid-level managers. I mentioned this in the previous video and in this video. Your frontline staff, you have to develop them. You have to train them. Your mid-level managers should be mentoring them. The senior people in your organization should be looking for people on the front line saying, ooh, this person has potential. Let's see if we can give them some small tests and say, hey, try this, see how they do with those tests, see how they respond with those tests, and then promote them so that it can be effective inside of your organization. This is what we do for all of our frontline staff. We give them little tests. Hey, need your help with this. Boom. Did they respond well? Did they complete the mission? How did they communicate? We're looking at a lot of things because they're always on trial with us. So now let's recap. Mid-level managers play a crucial role in connecting strategy and execution. They are the glue of your organization. When you empower your mid-level leaders, you give your entire company better performance, better morale, and more profitability. Here's some action steps for you. I'm talking to you, founders. Here's some action steps. Write out a sticky note, pull out a pad, your business journal, pull out your tablet, write in your tablet, pull it out on your phone, write these notes in your phone, do it right now. Be an action taker. Don't just watch this video and say, oh yeah, that guy was entertaining. That was some good points. Write this down. This is going to help you, especially if you're experiencing any of the problems that I mentioned in this video already. Number 1, evaluate your mid-level team. Identify the strength, identify their weaknesses, and identify blind spots, because your mid-level management team, you might need to hire another 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 to handle all of the needs of your business. Number 2, set clear goals and KPIs. I'm talking to you. A lot of you guys out there are running your companies without any clear goals or KPIs, and you're very subjective. Oh man, my mid-level management team, they suck. They're horrible. They can never do anything right. Well, is that actually true? Because that sounds to me like a subjective opinion. Objective data would say my mid-level management team is 35% below our goal of client acquisition. They're 15% below our goal of client satisfaction. That is objective feedback. When you say, oh man, my team sucks. Well, why? Oh, because man, I just don't feel good about him. Well, that's your personal opinion. That doesn't matter. Use objective feedback. And the only way you can give objective feedback to your team is if you have clear, established goals and metrics, and your team understands what those goals are. It's not enough just to have the goals. You have to communicate these goals and say, hey, see this? This is our standard. Hey, see this? This is what we need. Hey, you see this? This is what we need you to do. That's how you communicate your clear, concise, effective KPIs and goals. Number 3, provide tools and support. Make sure that your mid-level management team has the resources that they need so that they can be upskilled. Make sure that you're providing accountability, ideally twice a week. Could be, we do it on Tuesdays and Fridays because Mondays are crazy. I don't know about your company, but our company, Mondays are crazy. So we do Tuesdays and Fridays. You could be Mondays and Wednesdays. Could be Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you don't have that bandwidth, just do it once a week. But you have to take regular intervals to provide feedback loops for all of your mid-level managers so that they can keep their team accountable. Your mid-level managers are the glue between vision and action. When you empower your mid-level managers, you're setting your business up for scalable success. So as we wrap up, I've got some powerful questions for you. I'm talking to you, Mr. or Mrs. Founder. I'm talking to you. Are your mid-level managers empowered to make decisions, or are they merely following your orders? What systems do you have in place to ensure your mid-level managers are aligned with your company's visions and goals? How often do you provide feedback to your mid-level managers? And do they feel heard within your organization? Are your mid-level managers equipped with the skills they need to turn strategy into action? Do your mid-level managers have a clear set of KPIs to measure their success, or are they navigating without a compass at the mercy of your subjective opinion? Here's the killer. Now I'm gonna hit you in the gut punch right now. If your mid-level managers left tomorrow, would you have the talent pipeline to fulfill their shoes and replace them? How are you actively supporting the growth of your mid-level managers, both professionally and personally? What feedback loops are in place right now in your business that allow your mid-level managers to share their insights and their challenges with upper management? Are your mid-level managers managers motivated by your company's mission, simply managing tasks. What changes could you make today to empower your mid-level managers to drive better results for your business? And that's it. Remember, this is a series on the anatomy of building a team from the front line to the executive level and the board of advisors. In the next episode, we're going to cover senior managers and how they drive strategic initiatives forward. See you there.